happy. Okay, so, okay, I just want you to be able to see my candle. I got it for Christmas. Okay, so I want to set an ambiance for you. So really, Shiori? That was her fucking with my laptop. I'm using an HDMI cord on my laptop to put this on the screen, and half my TV's fucked up. You can see my ring light there, but yeah. This is my grandmother's old TV, and I don't really want to get rid of it. I feel like it's a perfectly good TV. It's just a little fucked up. Yeah, I'm just saying, just a little fucked up. Anyway, I'm gonna be doing my hair and doing a story time. So let's just get right to it because it's 8 o'clock. I need to go to bed because I have to work tomorrow, and I need to still play with her because she's so bored. So I have to do all of these things before tomorrow. So today I wanted to tell you about the really, really bad thing that I did. I did a bad thing. It was really bad. It just was really bad. And damn, you really can't see this fucking candle. So I'm not proud of it on like any capacity. I know I'm probably gonna be joking around while I tell this story, but like really at the depth, I'm really not proud of it. And I think that when it happened, I was so confused by myself because stuff like this you kind of just see as like black and white, and I feel like a lot of times we really wish that things in life were black and white, and we wish that like people were pretty much black and white, straightforward, but it's not the case. Most people aren't good or bad. Most people are, you know, split. You know, we're all layered, we're all complicated. And I consider myself a good person. And even still, I went ahead and did something like this. So, it's just, why the fuck didn't I bring a towel? Okay. I don't know. And I don't think I'm a terrible person because I did this, but I think what I did was pretty bad. And yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead because actually I learned a lot from it. Okay, just go ahead. Just say what the fuck you did, bitch. Just say what the fuck you did. Okay. So, surprise, surprise. This is about someone that I dated. I feel like that's all I talk about on this channel. Like people that I date, but I feel like, I don't know, some really good stories come out of it. So like, how can I not? Anyway, so I'm sure if you haven't watched the last video I posted was about the guy that I dated last year, and basically kind of like how he love bombed me and like talked me into going into a relationship really fast, and that ended in probably like December. And so I didn't date anyone for probably like a month and a half after that. Actually, I want to say it was like, yeah, it was like a month. It was a good month. And so the next guy that I dated after that was this guy that I'm about to tell you about right now. I'm just so embarrassed to even admit that I did this. Anyway, what happened? After I started dating, or after the other guy, I kind of went into a realization that I really need to get my career and my life together. I probably need to do that before I jump into anything serious again, because I'm really the type of person that like once I meet someone that I really like, who I think that could be the potential of being, you know, the one for me and whatever, I kind of don't care about, I really stopped caring about anything else. Because having a family, and like being with someone is like my ultimate goal in life. And I feel like a lot of people who've had like shitty childhoods, that's basically their main goal. Like, you know, to create the family basically that you never had. So, but I do have other aspirations in life, but because that's like my number one goal, like that's the one thing that I don't think I could ever be fully happy without. But actually no, because like if I don't try to fulfill my career or like try to have a good career, I actually wouldn't be completely happy or completely complete with a family. So I shouldn't say that, but it's just one of those things that like I've always wanted, and when I feel like it's happening, I get so content. I'm really good in a relationship when I'm like dating someone that I really like. I kind of like overall just I'm better. And I know that kind of sounds really toxic, but I was researching a lot about my natal chart, and it kind of makes sense based on my natal chart. I have like Sagittarius in some fucking house, and I was like researching about that on YouTube and online, and apparently like that's part of my birth chart, like the fact that I'm better as like a person when I'm with someone that I love. So that makes sense. Anyway, but the problem is that I stopped giving a fuck about anything else. Why did I say all that shit? I said all that shit because after I stopped dating the other guy, I was just really realizing how much my whole like time and energy had been kept into just, you know, trying to make our relationship thrive. I wasn't really doing anything that I liked anymore because I went to work and then he got off super late, so I would just try my best to stay up to be able to hang out with him at all hours of the night and then go to work the next day like nothing else happened. And that took like so much time and energy that I really didn't have time for anything else. So yeah, I wasn't really doing anything that I liked. So afterward, I was like, you know, I really need to start taking my writing seriously. And like I can't, for some reason I just don't have the motivation to write if I'm not like putting it towards something. So I downloaded that Meetup app, and because I don't know anybody around where I live, really. And I think I've said that like multiple times on this channel, but where I live, I don't know anybody. The only people I hang out with are the guys that I date, which is fucking pathetic. But yeah, I don't have any friends around here. I had one friend, actually from high school, who ended up coming up here for college, but we fell out 2 years ago, and I haven't talked to her since. So that was basically the only friend that I had here, and I distanced myself from her, so I don't have any fucking way. Any motherfucking way. Oh my god, all I do is ramble. But that's what you're here for. You like hearing me talk, I hope. I don't know why you'd be on the channel if you didn't. But yeah. Hiyoo. I download the Meetup app, and then I start looking for writing groups. Well, thank God I found some. I found 2 actually. Actually, no, I'm ahead of myself. I found 1, and they were meeting up at a coffee shop, and then they had critique sessions, and I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking cool. Like I didn't really think I was gonna find anything. So I was really nervous, and actually I think I found the fucking the group, but I actually didn't go to a meeting until probably like the 3rd or 4th week. go until like the third or fourth week about that I knew about it, because I haven't hung out with people in so long that like I'm just so nervous. I get so nervous and anxious. Like, my people really do not believe me when I say this because of how I act, but I have really fucking bad social anxiety, like to the point where it gives me like physical symptoms. I'm not diagnosed or anything, like clinically diagnosed, but one can come up with a conclusion that one might have social anxiety, because every time I'm you know met with the opportunity to be social with people, which I should be excited about, I usually have physical symptoms of like feeling actually physically ill, feeling like I'm gonna fucking barf, I'm shaking. What else? A bunch of other shit too. So I had to talk myself into actually going into that group for like, yeah, 3 or 4 weeks straight before I actually, maybe not even maybe it was 2 weeks, because my timeline actually would be fucked up if it was 3 weeks. So maybe it was 2 weeks, because at first, when I actually got the balls to show up, I showed up like an hour and 20 minutes late to one of the writing sessions, and then I was so nervous that I didn't even have the balls to ask them if they were the ones I was supposed to be meeting when I saw them. So I just kind of like awkwardly sat next to them. I sat next to them, and then fucking when they were done, when their like timer had gone off, I went over and I was like, "Hi, I came late, but is this like that writing group?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." And they were like, "Oh, you could have just joined us." I was like, "Oh yeah, I was just like being really awkward about it. I'm sorry." And they're like, "Oh yeah, well, hope to see you next week, blah 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 blah. Are you coming to the critique session next Sunday?" And I was like, "Oh, I think I actually, at that point, I didn't even know there was a critique session. I thought it was just a writing group." And they're like, "Yeah, we critique every other week. So if you want to send something in, you can totally do that." And I was like, "Oh," and I can't remember. Did I send something in that first week? I want to say I did. I think I did, actually. So, actually, I did. Okay, so the first week I sent in one of the short stories that I had been working on. And I was super nervous about it because, like, I didn't know any of these people. And, like, as a writer, I take writing, even though I don't really, like, I don't put that much energy into it as I should. I'm really working on that. But I take it so seriously. I take writing very seriously, and so me giving someone my work is like super risky feeling to me, because every single time I write something, a little piece of my soul, goes into it. So for me to be showing people that I don't even know, stuff that I'm writing is like a big deal for me. But yeah, so anyway, I show up, and I always like try to give like a good first impression when I meet people. So I don't really have anything to do with my time other than going to work. So the fact that I was going out anywhere, I wanted to look nice, and I wanted to dress nice. So I dressed a little nice, not like nice, but like I put a cute outfit on, and I did my hair and my makeup, and whatever. I mean, like, not that they're gonna give a fuck, but that's just how, like, the type of person that I am when I go out. And so I go, and everyone's nice. It's just awkward. I mean, I feel like writers in general are awkward, and like I'm awkward too, so it's fine. But yeah, it's like when you don't know people and you're meeting them for the first time, especially online, it's like, what do you even say? What do you even do? So, none of them are my age, really. I think everyone there was older than me, pretty much. I think there was like one guy there who was probably like a couple, like maybe 26. But at the time, I was still only 23. Was I 23? Yeah, I was only 23 at the time. So yeah, that's still like 26, 3 years older. It's not that much older, but everybody was older than me, which I didn't care, but it was just like, you know. And but I mean older, like probably like 28, 29, and then probably like mid 30s. And then I noticed a super older guy there who like looked like he was like very like much older than me. But and I thought that he was cute, but I didn't really pay it any mind, you know. I was just so nervous. So anyway, they went over my story in the first half because we critique a story, then we take a break, and then we critique a second story. So they critiqued my story for the first hour, and pretty much everybody just had good things to say. And they gave me a lot of ideas for how to help me like try to finish it, which I really appreciated. So we took our break, and I was so nervous. I mean, the whole time that they were, you know, giving me a critique, I was shaking. I really was shaking, even driving to the goddamn place that we met at, to be honest with you. I was just a nervous wreck. But I felt a lot better after, you know, that had gone, because, you know, they thought it was good. So I was like, oh my god. That means a lot to me. So I go into the Starbucks line, because we were in a Barnes and Noble. We were in one of those Barnes and Noble that have like the Starbucks in them. So I go into the Starbucks line to get, I don't even know what I was getting, like just whatever. And the older dude that had been at the table, he got in line at the same time. And at first, you know, I didn't really pay him any mind because, I mean, why would I? And then he just started talking to me. And at first, I didn't think he was talking to me. Because I wasn't looking at him. I was just looking at the menu. And then he said something to me. And I looked, and it was him. And I was like, oh, hello, what the fuck? And, I can't even remember what it was about, but I think he asked me, like, what are you planning on getting? And whatever. And all I really remember from that interaction was, because it was more than just like a nice little conversation. The way he was talking to me, I just remember thinking, is he flirting with me? Because he was like noticeably older, you know? And I just felt like I looked so young that I didn't really consider, because like no one that much older looking than me has ever given me the time of day before. So I never, because I feel like I always assume that I look really young. So I just assume older people aren't into the fact that like I was just like, is he flirting with me? Is he not? Like, I'm so fucking confused. But like I remember we were having like kind of like a playful back and forth banter, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. And he was just like so confident about it, because I was like, if he is flirting with me, wow, he's really confident. Like to just like start a conversation with me, not knowing how I would respond or whatever. And so I order, and then I remember this because I was like, okay, he's definitely flirting with me. He definitely, because I ordered a drink. The girl asked me if I had a Barnes and Noble coupon, and I was like, no. And he was like, oh, just use mine. Not a coupon. It was one of those like little like rewards cards. And like I guess you could say like, oh yeah, like it's just a rewards card. But like, who goes out of their way to give someone else their rewards card? Okay, maybe that's stupid. But at that moment, I knew he was flirting with me. So I was kind of like, oh, because he was cute. And I was like, huh, I've never like been super attracted to like an older guy like this, but he's cute. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, maybe he's not flirting with me. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, you know. I don't know. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is. He gave me his rewards card. Anyway, so after the session, after we critique the other person's work, I remember wondering if I should linger behind to see if he would try to catch up to me or try to like talk to me. But then I was like, I don't really care. Like, he's not. And then also I was super anxious about, because it was like one of those awkward things where like everybody leaves and everybody's kind of lingering, but you don't really know it. Like, they knew each other, but I didn't really know how to like start a conversation with them because I didn't know any of them, you know what I mean? So I packed up my laptop, I packed up my shit, and I basically was just like, oh yeah, this was so good. And they were like, yeah, we hope you come back. We do this like, you know, every other week. And I was like, yeah, this was so much fun. I'm definitely gonna come back. Cool. Bet. So I start walking out, and one of the other members starts talking to him. And I felt like I could tell that he was trying to like say something to me, but he couldn't because the other person was like talking to them. And I left, but they were like right behind me as I was leaving. But I didn't wait or anything, or I didn't like linger around to try to start a conversation with him. I just walked out and I went to my car and I left. Because I thought maybe he was gonna ask me for my number or something, but if he wasn't going to, I didn't want to look stupid. So I just left and I got into my car and I went home. So the next day, he messages me on the Meetup app, and I can't. Oh, he said something that like made me laugh. He said something like, "Hey, this is 42-year-old Cooper from the critique session yesterday. How are you?" And I just thought that that was so funny. I don't think he said that verbatim, but it was something like, "Oh, this is the 42-year-old something something something." And so I'm like, "Oh, so this is like, he is like the age that I thought he was." Like, I didn't know obviously like how old he would be, but I figured he was like older than 30. So I was like, "Oh, okay. Very interesting." Ow, ow. She actually accidentally got one of her claws stuck on my foot. So, we talked a little back and forth on the meetup, just like, you know, cute little banter or whatever. And then, you know, he was saying how he, you know, really liked my story, and he was asking if I knew what I was gonna do with it. And I was like, oh yeah, I feel like I have some ideas, but to be honest, I'm still kind of having. He asked me what I was doing with my story. I said that I didn't know and I still needed to like hash out some ideas. And then he was like, "Oh, well, you know, I write all the time, and I kind of need, you know, work as well. If you want, we could always meet up." This looks like shit. He was like, "If you want, we could always meet up and talk about the ideas and, you know, help each other out." And I was like, is he asking me on a date? Or is this really just some writing shit? I couldn't tell. And because I felt like he was flirting with me over the messages, but it wasn't like an outright, "Oh, I want to take you out sometime. Oh, this, that, and the other." And so I was kind of just like, okay, hey, stop. God, she's always putting shit in her mouth. So I decided to go ahead with it, and we set up a date. And the first thing that I noticed was kind of weird was like, he was really like not particular about when he could go out, but it was kind of just like, "I'm not sure if I can do this date, but let me get back to you on that." And I was like, oh, "Okay, cool." Which really, it wasn't weird. It was just like, something that I didn't forget. But yeah, as I would quickly learn, when he told me something, he was going to do something, he did it. And that was one of the things I liked about it. But anyway, so we go and we met up on a Tuesday. I think actually it was the Tuesday after the Sunday of our writing critique session that had happened. So yeah. And we meet up and literally we just talked about writing. Like we didn't buy any food. We actually met up at the same Barnes and Noble that we had met up the couple days before for the writing critique. And we both bought a coffee and we literally just talked about writing, and we talked about this one contest that we were both going to make a short story for and enter in. So we talked about his short story that he was going to be doing, and then we talked about my ideas for mine. And yeah, and then we left. We didn't hug, we didn't kiss, we didn't do anything. So I think after that night, I gave him my number because I was like, oh, this was fun, we should do this again. And he was like, yeah, I really liked this. So I gave him my number, and it was basically like, oh yeah, I'll see you at the next meetup thing, sort of thing. And so, oh wait, no, that's not what happened. When we met up that time, he told me about a different writing group that he was in that happened every single Saturday. And he was like, yeah, if you're into it, you should definitely go, because these guys like meet up every weekend. They're super serious about writing, and I think it would probably be good for you since you said you're trying to get more serious about it. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. And so he told me where to meet at, because it was happening that Saturday, obviously. So he told me, when and where to meet at, and he told me that like it was like a paid sort of thing, but like you just paid like I think $2 or $3 every time you went, so it wasn't like a big deal. And it was just like a cover charge basically, so they could like have the room that they were like renting, and because they were renting it in a cafe. So yeah, and we decided to meet up then, and I don't think we even texted until that day. So I go and I meet, I'm looking down at my mirror, by the way, so I can see what I'm doing. I go and I meet him there, and there were two guys there. I can't remember if it was just the two guys. I want to say it was just the two guys and someone else, but the two main guys that ran it, it was this guy with like dreads and then this older guy, and they were pretty nice. I think they were like, because again, it was like an older, like they were definitely way older than me, so I think they were like kind of surprised that I was there because I was like younger. But Chanel. So we go, and it wasn't like the other writing group, because the other writing group, you got the work in advance, and then everybody read it on their own time, and then you came together. But this particular writing group, they handed out copies of the work in session, and then we would spend however long it took for all of us to read it, and then we would critique it right then and there. So it was kind of like we'll get to your work if we do, but usually they only had time to critique 2. And actually this session lasted for like 4 hours. So, and I actually didn't really care because it was really good. Like I loved going to each one. Like I ended up going to this writing group for like 2 months before COVID happened, and every Saturday I would be there for like 4 hours, and I didn't give a fuck because it was awesome. I really loved it. So then after that session, he asked me if I wanted to go out to eat, and I was like, oh yes I do actually. And So we went to this little Chinese place, and it was really cute. Because we left our cars in the parking lot of the cafe, or I left my car in the parking lot of the cafe. He drove us there, and we were talking, and he told me that he had 2 kids, which I knew he had 1 kid from the critique session because people were like making reference to the kid that he had. I was like, oh, so he has a kid. Cool, cool, cool. I mean, like, he's 42. Like, that's not surprising. But yeah, on our way there, he made mention of the other kid that he had. I was like, oh, so you have 2 kids? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that's really cute. And because he was telling me that he couldn't stay long because he promised his kid that he would help him like build a boat, like one of those like little toy build-a-boats. Build-a-boat, bitch. What the fuck is that? One of those like boats that you get a kit for and like you can like build it with like little tools or some shit. Anyway, so we go, and I was just really nervous the whole time, so I felt like I wasn't really being like myself 100% because I didn't know what to think about the situation because it felt like a date. We went, we ate the food. He had to leave because he was like, yeah, my kids should be getting out of school, should be getting out of school soon, so I need to go home and whatever. And oh, not school. No, I'm so fucking dumb. It's like he should be getting home from something because it was Saturday. What means school? I'm so dumb. But yeah. So he ended it short. I took out my money to pay for my food, and he was like, "Oh no, I got it." So I'm like, "Okay, so this is a date, like, right? Like, who's paying for someone else's food if it's not a date? Especially when he asked me to go." But I just didn't know because after that, nothing happened. Like, he didn't try to kiss me. We didn't even hug. He just drove me back to the cafe. And I got in my car and I was kind of just like waiting for at least a hug or something. But that didn't happen. So I was like, oh, okay. And he walked me all the way to my car, like opened my driver's door for me. I got in my driver's seat and he was like, yeah, well, I'll text you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And yeah, so that basically we had like 2 more dates like that where I thought that like we could have met up during the week like we did, but he ended up he was like, oh no, I can't really swing that because my kids and something like that. So for the next few weeks we would hang out after every session that we had, but he couldn't really stay for long, because he always had to go back and be with his 2 kids. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. But like I really actually enjoyed the slow pace that we were going at because that had never happened to me before, where someone like just took me out, talked to me, and didn't make any moves on me or anything. And at first I was kind of frustrated with it because I feel like I've said this before, but I have a pretty high sex drive. So like I'm always thinking about it. Like I'm always thinking about, the next intimate thing. If I really like a person. Obviously I wasn't thinking about fucking the guy like so quick, but I was definitely thinking about, kissing and like making out and stuff. But like he just never made a move. And like he never even made a move to hug me either. So what the fuck is my cat doing? Oh, he was never making any moves on me. And I didn't really know what to think about that. And that's why I never really knew if we were actually, for a while, I didn't know if we were actually dating or not, or if we were actually just like friends. But I was like, why would a 42-year-old man want a 23-year-old female just friend? And like, I'm not saying that type of situation can't exist, but he was definitely pursuing me. I could see if like we knew each other for a while because of something common that we did and we just happened to be friends. But no, like from the very first day he met me, you know, he was kind of pursuing me, I felt like, but he never made a move on me. So I was just like, I don't really know. It kind of gave me pause. And at the same time, too, I liked that it gave me pause because it never happened before. It was just so intriguing to me. I was like, oh my God. So, you know, days and days go by and we just eventually start texting each other all the time. And it was like a slow build up because we would just casually text each other like once or like every couple days or like here and there, and like it was just that build up of, oh, blah 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 blah, until eventually we, you know, basically were saying good morning to each other every morning, and you know, we were saying good night, and we would have these conversations. I would even text him, like I got distracted actually texting him at work all the time, and I had to like cut down the times that I was sick because we would have like conversations, and it was, you know, getting to really like mean something to me. Like I really liked him, and I just really liked how respectful he was being, and like just like the whole slow build up thing was just really nice to me. It was really refreshing, and then I was like, oh my God, maybe that's what it's like to date an older guy. Maybe they're all like this. Like maybe I should have just started dating older guys a while ago. So things started getting a little weird to me because obviously, like, I've been talking to you for weeks. We have great conversation. I think you're cute, and we also share this like passion, um which is something I've never shared with, you know, a person that I was dating before. I've never shared that writing passion. So the fact that I was sharing that with him and like expressing that to him was like really amazing to me. So things started getting a little strange to me because I noticed that whenever we planned to do something, it had to be really particular. It had to be after the sessions. I feel like a lot of people probably already know where this is going, but for the people who don't, I'm gonna build the suspense up. I noticed that the times when we met had to be pretty particular, which at first I really didn't make too much, I didn't really think about too much because I was like, oh yeah, he has 2 kids, like a single dad, like he's probably really like busy all the time. 2 kids, I can't even fucking imagine, you know. And I didn't really pay attention to it too much until I started asking if we could do other things other than, you know, just hanging out for like a couple hours, you know, after our writing session. I wanted to go to the movies, you know, I want to spend other time with you. I want to do other things with you. Like we don't always have to talk about writing, which we didn't talk about writing like all the time, but I wanted to do other stuff other than, you know, just writing activities. But he was kind of just like, that's gonna be kind of hard for me to swing. And I was like, oh, I guess maybe he needs a babysitter or whatever. But I just kept thinking about that one Tuesday that we went out, and I was like, oh, well, maybe you can like do what you did for your kid that Tuesday. And he was like, well, I might be able to swing it. Let me get back to you about that. I don't want you to feel like I don't want to do it. It's just it's kind of like a hard situation for me because I'm really busy. I was like, oh, okay, you know, I don't want to, you know, put any pressure on you or whatever. It's fine. And like, yeah. So that was the thing that was starting to be weird to me. And then in the back of my mind, I started realizing I never heard anything about the kid's mother. And I was like, I wonder if she's, for some reason I just felt like she was dead, because I felt like she was dead because he literally never made any mention of anything having to do with the kid's mom. And even when we were in the writing sessions, no one ever made any mention about their mom. So I thought that she was like fucking dead or something, or like maybe like she just wasn't in their lives, because they would, like, even in the writing sessions, they would talk about the kids and like ask him about his kids, but they would never ask about their mom. So I thought that it was like a sticky situation that he probably didn't want to talk about. But the whole thing kind of just made me, it was like, that's weird. But I just really didn't, I pushed it away, you know. I pushed it away because I really liked him, and I was starting to develop feelings for him because I just loved how we talked and whatever. So, everything finally came to a head, as things do. They all do. So, one night, when we were going to one of our sessions, I was so excited because he told me that he had arranged some stuff so he could stay out later with me. And I was like, oh, cool. And so we go to the critique session. I wear this really cute dress. It was like this all pink dress, and I did my makeup really nice, and I was so excited. So we went to a restaurant. After the critique session, we went to a restaurant that was like right near, and we had drinks, and we stayed there for a few hours, and it finally felt like a real date, because it wasn't rushed. Usually when we went out, he could only stay with me for about like 30-40 minutes max before he was like, yeah, I gotta be getting home to my kids, whatever. And I totally understood that, because I mean, like, I don't know anything about having kids, so I was just like, I took his word for it. Like, obviously, like, if they need him, they need him. They probably expect their dad home at a certain time, whatever. And it was really, the whole kid thing to me didn't really scare me per se. I was starting to feel like we were heading towards really like seriously dating, because just like the way that we were progressing, and in the back of my mind I always think about shit before it even happens, but I was thinking like, oh, I hope his kids like me if I ever get to meet them, and like, oh, am I really ready to be a stepmom, all this crazy shit, crazy girl shit. If you're a girl and you are someone who projects into the future, even though it might not even happen, how, because you just get so giddy about a situation and you just start thinking about what could be. That's my main problem. Okay, I get so giddy about things and I start thinking about the future. So I was thinking about me possibly meeting his kid and like his kids, and like really hoping that they would like me, and like wondering, like, I'm like, if their mom is dead, I wonder, or if their mom's not actually dead, I wonder what that situation would be like. So yeah, so we went out to that restaurant, we stayed for hours, and it was getting late, he finally had to go home, but like that night he actually made kind of like moves on me a little bit. We were sitting, instead of like him, another thing that he did that I really loved, whenever we went out, he never wanted to sit across from me. He always wanted to like move his chair and sit right next to me. And this night we were sitting at one of those top bar stools, and I just remember like him just like grazing my leg, but like so nicely, like, because he was being like so super respectful, and like at first he just put his hand there kind of to like gauge me, and like I smiled when he did that. So then he was just like softly rubbing my leg as we talked, and I really enjoyed that. And I was like, okay, so this is definitely a date. We're definitely dating. Yes, I was like so happy because I was like, oh, I might get a kiss tonight. Oh, shit. And I was just so fucking giddy, and I was so horny. Oh my god, I hadn't had. Actually, I really don't need to go into that. But I really was, and I, even though we hadn't even kissed yet, my mind was going there. I was like, oh my god, first kiss, fuck. Obviously not all that night, but I was like, oh, finally I'm gonna get a kiss. Because like, obviously, once you start kissing someone, obviously things in the next few dates, you're probably gonna fuck. Anyway, so I was getting really excited about that. Oh yes, I'm gonna get fucked. But so yeah, after our dinner date, he walked me to my car like normal, and we sat outside my car, and I'm like waiting, like, ooh, and we're talking. It's like, you know, kind of like that first kiss, sort of like awkwardness, where it's like, who's gonna make the first move? Who's gonna make the first move? And then he just went into his car. He was like, yeah, well, I hope you have a good night. And I was sitting in my, because he always did that thing where he opened my door for me. I got in, he would close my door for me, and then he would sit while my window was rolled down. I thought he was going to lean over into the window and kiss me. He didn't. He just got into his car. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll text you. Bye. And I was like, no. I was so confused. I couldn't believe it. Oh my fucking god. I'm such a goddamn dumbass. I forgot the most key element to the story. Before this date, he was telling me about a book that he had published. This is why I'm terrible at telling stories, because I always forget the fucking most important details. I hate myself. Okay, so before this date, we had been talking about this book that he had gotten self-published, and I was, oh my god, that's so cool, I want to read your book. He was like, oh, it's not that great, whatever. So he had finally brought that book for me. So that's another reason why I thought he was gonna kiss me, because he's like, oh, I remember I brought my book for you. And he took it out of his car, handed it to me through the window, and I thought, you know, I was gonna take it and he was gonna kiss me, and he didn't. So I was so disappointed. So I go back home and I was like, oh, whatever. I mean, maybe he's just not ready. I don't know. I thought, because I was doing mental gymnastics trying to explain this to myself. Like, why? Like, I'm sure he's attracted to me. Why would you want to kiss this? My mental gymnastics took me to maybe something tragic happened to him and he did. I just thought, instead of thinking the obvious, I thought to myself, well, maybe he was just like really traumatized in like whatever last relationship, and maybe he's like not ready to like make that move. Maybe like that's super special for him. Maybe he's like super touchy feely, and maybe this and maybe that. So, but I was like, you know, whatever. I'm glad that I have his book. I was so excited to start reading his book. So, it was late by the time I got home, and we texted each other. I told him that I got home safe, and he told me, you know, I had such a good time tonight, and I told him I had such a good time too, and I couldn't wait to like see him again, and whatever, and we said goodnight. So I pull out his book. And I start reading like the first chapter, but it was really late, so I knew I was gonna fall asleep on it. But actually, when I opened the book, I'm just gonna make up a name because I don't want to say real names. I look up a book, or I open the book, and in the dedications, the book said to Janet, or for Janet. That's a made-up name, but it said for Janet, and I was like, oh, who's Janet? And I'm like, oh, maybe that's his daughter. That would make sense. I go and I read the back of the other and the mentions, and it's saying other stuff about people in his family and the people he's thankful for. And I'm like, okay. Because I was like, Janet. Why does that seem like that would be familiar? Oh, and then I remember he had a J. I'm such a fucking idiot. He had a J tattooed on his hand. And I was like, oh, that must be his kid's name. Because he never told me what his kids' names were. We would just always talk about them, but I realized I never actually knew what the kids, so I just thought it was his daughter's name. So then I'm scrolling through the book, and like I realized on the back of the book was his website. I was like, oh, I didn't even fucking know he had a website. He never told me he had a website. I go on his website. It was just hisname.com. I go on his website, and you know, it lists his other publications and whatever, other stuff he's been in, his job and whatever. And I was like, oh, this is so cute. You know, it had his little like headshot, and I'm like, oh, this is so cute. Like, he's so cute. I like him so much, and I'm just like adoring him over this fucking website. I go to the About Me section of the website. I think it was like the bio section of the website. And it was like, his name, lives in my city,